Hi all, welcome to Free Life Science class. Today we are going to take a topic from genetics, that is heredity and variation. Okay, so it's a basic topic also, and we all should know what is heredity and variation, then only we can enter into the basic concept of genetics. Okay, so I am Purnima. Once again, I welcome all of you to my class. So let's start our class. So what is genetics? Genetics is the study of genes, heredity and genetic variation in an organism. Okay, so in the genetics, we will study about genes, then its difference between genes and how these genes are transmitted, different problems relating to the genes, everything we will deals in this genetics. Okay, and also the differences in the genes in parents as well as in offspring, everything, and all about heredity. Okay, so the term genetics is coined by the scientist William Patterson, and the genetics is taken from the word, a Greek word known as Genesis. Okay, it is taken from a Greek word known as Genesis, and its meaning is origin. Okay, its meaning is origin. So this word Genesis is taken from a Greek word. Genetics is taken from a Greek word called a Genesis, and its meaning is origin. Okay, and the father of genetics is Gregor John, I'm sorry. Okay, Gregor John Mendel. Gregor John Mendel studied in garden pea plant, and he find out several data relating to the transmission of genes through the process called inheritance. Okay, so he don't use these genes or word genes or alleles etc. He used another word for that. So we will discuss it in later on the next slides. Okay. So father of modern genetics is William Patterson, and father of experimental genetics is Morgan. He done several experiments in Drosophila. Okay, he done experiments in Drosophila, which is one of the very important topic if you consider about CSIR net examinations. Okay, so father of human genetics and biochemical genetics is Garrod. Okay, so this is all about genetics, and you have to remember one thing in mind, that how this is possible, how these genes are transmitting from one generation to the second generation, and why it is possible for giving birth to the same organism. For example, monkey give birth to the monkey itself, not to any other organism. Human will give birth to human itself, not to any other organism. Why it is happening? It is because of these genes, only one organism give birth to the same species of organism only. It doesn't consist of any other genes which is present in the other species. Okay. Move into the next topic, that is heredity. So we have discussed it. Heredity means that is the transmission of genes. But when we define the term heredity, we will say like this. It is the transmission of characters or traits. And what is known as trait? Trait means any character that can be passed from parent to offspring. Okay, this is the trait which can be passed from parents to offspring. For example, eye color. Eye color is a character. Okay, then hair texture, hair color, then about the nose length, the shape of the teeth, etc. We will get the same genes either from father or either from mother, or we will get combination of both. And the transmission of such character from the parents to offspring is known as, such character is known as trait, and this process of transmission is known as heredity. Okay, then what do you mean by inheritance? Inheritance is actually the basis of heredity. Okay, so what is inheritance? Inheritance is the actual basis of heredity, where you can see the traits or characters are passing from parent to the progeny. Okay, so the characters are passing from parent to the progeny. That is, the genes or the traits are carried from one generation to the next generation, and we will call this process the inheritance. That is, carrying the genes, particular genes or characters from one generation to the next generation is termed as inheritance. For example, if you see, a family has a background that they have a disease known as diabetes. Okay, so there is a possibility that if a child born in that family have to get diabetic when he become a certain age, after a certain age he also have a chance to get diabetic. Okay, so what is the reason behind it? That is, the genes that code for this disease is carried to that child also. That is, the character is transmitted to the next generation. Okay, so this is known as inheritance. Okay, so heredity is the passing of traits from parent to offspring. Okay, let's move into variation. Okay, what is variation? Variation means, actually in one word we can define it as the difference. Okay, so we can define the variation as the degree of difference. Okay, it's the degree of difference in the progeny and between the parents and progeny. Okay, so for example, if the father has thin and healthy hair. Okay, he has thin and healthy hair, but a mother has thick but short hair. Okay, mother has thick but short hairs. Here the father has thin and healthy hair. So there is a possibility of getting the thick hair from the mother and the healthy hair from the father, or he can get the thin and the short hair from the mother, thin hair from the father, the combination of thin and short, combination of thick and healthy hair, likewise. So there is a difference in progeny than their parents. That difference is known as variation. How much the gene is difference from their parent, that is known as the variation. Okay, actually that is the difference which can be seen in the progeny from when compared to their parents. So these can be seen in as the phenotypic difference, or we can see it in the morphological characters, like there will be difference in hair color, eye color, skin textures, then coloration, skin pigment, everything can be difference. Sometimes you can say like this: father is very dark, mother is very whitish in nature, the skin texture. But even though the child will get a combination of both, so there is a difference between the character from their parents. So that is known as variation. Okay, let's move into Next. So this is Gregor John Mendel. Okay, he is the father of genetics. He is the father of genetics. He is an Austrian monk. He developed the laws of inheritance and presented his findings in Natural History of Society of Brunn in 1865 and the paper entitled Experiment in Plant Hybridization in 1866, and this was written in the German language. Okay, so what was his experiment? Let's discuss more about his experiment. So this is the area chosen by the Gregor John Mendel for doing the experiment. Okay, and he visualized through this window so that he can visualize what are the changes, and he also can do experiments very quickly, and we can look into what are the experiment he conducted. Okay, so Mendel's experiment, he done his experiment in garden pea. Okay, so his whole experiment was conducted in the garden pea, and he took 7 years for completing his experiment. Not 1 or 2 years, he took 7 years for completion of his experiment. Why he choose the garden pea plant? Why he not use any other plant? Because it consists of different contracting characters. Okay, so he can use different type of contrasting characters, and the lifespan of the pea plant is very short. So the lifespan is very short so that he can visualize several generations. He can produce several offsprings, and also he can visualize the next generation also. So he can do experiments in several generations. So he can visualize the character transmission. So he chose the pea plant because it consists of several contrasting characters and the lifespan is short. He can produce a lot of offspring within a short time, and it can be grown in the minimum area. So earlier we have seen that balcony where the Mendel used to propagate the garden pea plant. Okay. And another advantage of this pea plant is it is a bisexual plant because it consists of a flower which consists of both the male and a female part. Okay, it consists of both the male and female part. Hence, he can use the flower for cross fertilization as well as self fertilization. Okay, so the flower have male and female part. And the methods he adopted during his experiment was, this was very important. He done experiments using one character at a time. He don't use all the characters together. He done experiment by looking to one character at a time. Okay, so there are 7 characters and he done experiment on different characters. Okay, then the next process he have done for this experiment is the process known as emasculation. Emasculation means to prevent a self-pollination, Mendel removed the pollen grains from the plant so that it can prevent the self-pollination. So this is the process of removal of anthers or pollen grains from the flower so that the flower become a female flower. Okay, so he can use any other flower, desired flower, for cross fertilizing to this female flower. So this is a part of a flower. You can see that this yellow color region is the pollen grain. This pollen grain is actually the male part, that is which have sperm, and this is the stamen who will stabilize or who will bring the pollen to the stigma. And the next one is the ovary, where you can see the eggs which is seen inside the flower. Okay, this is all about the flower and about the process of doing the experiment. So this is a pea flower. These pictures are taken from the text genetics. Okay, and I will provide the reference text at the end of the slide, or you can see in the description box where you can see the complete reference of the textbook I have used here. Okay. Next is the anatomy of pea plant, and this is the flower. Here the stigma is the place where the pollen lands, and anthers are present at the tip of the stamen. Okay. Stamens are the male sex organs and the ovary is the female sex organs. Okay. So he used this type of paint brush to transfer the pollen grains from a parent plant to the next female plant. Okay. So that he can do the process of fertilization. So this process of removal of pollens. So here you can see that there is no pollen grains in this flower. That is, he have removed all the pollen grains from this flower. So that what you can infer from this, you can say that there will not be a self-fertilization will occur in this flower. Okay, so you will get the desired trait from the progeny as the progeny. Okay. So these are the 7 contrasting characters used by the mental in the pea plant. So first character is the height. Okay, height, tall or dwarf. Then flower color, purple or white. Flower position, axial or terminal. Then about seed color, yellow or green. Seed shape, round or wrinkled. Pod color, green or yellow. Pod shape, smooth or constricted. So these are the 7 characters chosen by the mental in doing his experiment. Okay. So here in this picture, you can see that here a pair of homologous chromosome, both unduplicated. Okay, in most species, one is inherited from mother and other from the father. So this area, okay, this area where you can see the gene is known as the gene locus. In plural, we will say loci. Okay, so the gene locus is the place for the specific gene on a chromosome. And we can also say that this is an allele. That means allele is a form of gene. Okay, alleles are different forms of gene. For example, a gene that is coding for blood group. Some has A blood group, some has B blood group, some has O blood group, some have AB blood group. So there are different alleles that code for the blood groups. Okay, so alleles are a form of gene. Okay, so this loci means, or this locus means the area where a specific gene is present on the chromosome. So we will use the term loci or locus or alleles in the remaining experiments of mental and as well as the others, so that we are going to introduce this term with you. Okay. So the next one is a pair of alleles may be identical or not. Alleles are represented in the text by letters such as capital D or a small d or any other capital letters. Okay, either in capital form or in small letter form. For example, if this allele is homozygous in nature, it can be a capital A or capital A, or a small a or a small a. That means this pair of alleles are identical because both have capital A and capital A, or small a and small a. This is homozygous condition where both the alleles are of same type. But there is another condition also where you can see a heterozygous condition, one having capital A and the other having small a, where we call it as a heterozygous condition. Okay, heterozygous condition. This is known as heterozygous. Okay, so here both capital A and small a is present, where the capital A, that means the gene who is expressing, is known as dominant one. Okay, the gene which is expressing when they are in heterozygous condition, then we call the expressing one as dominant trait. And we will discuss all these things later also, so you can understand it clearly after learning the experiments. Okay, so here you can see that there is a 3 pair of gene at 3 loci on as this pair of homologous chromosome. Okay, so these are different locus. Okay, and 3 pairs of gene, we can call it as 3 pairs because this is one pair, this is the another pair, and this is the third pair. So you can see that 3 pairs of genes are on 3 different loci. Okay, so let's continue. So now we have understood that what are alleles. Okay, alleles are different form of a gene. Okay, alleles are different form of a gene. Next, about the dominant and the recessive condition. Okay, so here you can see a plant having a tall height, variation in height. We are taking the plant with variation in height. One is tall plant, the other one is dwarf or small. Okay, and we use the letters capital T and capital T for representing the tall condition in homozygous condition. Okay, and small t for dwarf. Okay, or a small sized plant. When we cross this, we will get capital T and small t. So we will discuss it later how we get this individual. We will discuss it in the next slide. So we are going to discuss about dominant, recessive and the condition, homozygous and recessive condition in this process. Okay, so dominant trait means this dominant trait is the trait which is expressed. Okay, for example, when I crossed here, I get a heterozygous progeny or heterozygous offspring. Here, it will develop into a tall plant. Even though its genotype is capital T small t, it will be looked as tall one. Okay, but the parent is in homozygous condition, but the offspring is in heterozygous condition. He also or she also or that plant show the dominant character. Here the dominant one is the tall. Okay, hence we call this T as the dominant trait. Okay, Recessive is the other one which is not expressing in the F1 generation, okay, or in the first generation. So now you have understood what is homozygous condition, what is heterozygous condition, what is dominant trait and what is recessive trait. So the expressing one is dominant and the other one who is not expressing in the first generation is known as recessive trait. And when we use experiments to generate true breeding lines, we will use self-pollination. Okay, emasculation is the process if we need cross-pollination. Okay, so all these things were the methods used by the mentor. So if he needs true breeding lines, he will use self-pollination methods. If he need a heterozygous one, he use cross-fertilization method, and emasculation is one of the process which help in the doing his experiment with cross-fertilization. Okay, let's move into the next diagram. So before that, we can go through this point so that you can understand what is the experiment by the mentor. Okay, so actually the mentor called the genes as unit factor. So he was the first one to do experiments in this, and he said that the something is transmitting from parent to offspring, and he called that factor as unit factors. Okay, he called that factor as unit factors. So unit of inheritance is genes, and Mental first proposed the existence of particulate unit factors, now known as genes, for each traits. Okay. So a phenotype result from the physical characters which is already transmitted from the parents through the genes as genes. Okay. So resulting from the genotypes, all offspring will show certain characters, and the expressing character is known as phenotype. For example, a tall plant and a dwarf plant. Okay, these two are in homozygous condition and they were crossed. When they crossed, we get a heterozygous plant. Okay, heterozygous plant. So this plant have a a capital T and a small t. So this capital T is expressing in this trait, and this offspring is tall. Okay, even though its genotype is written in heterozygous condition, but the phenotype is tall. That is the physical character. Okay, that is, we can visualize the character. Morphological character are said to be the phenotype. Okay, but the genotype is the gene combination. Okay, for example, this is homozygous tall and this one is heterozygous tall. So when we consider about genotype, these two were different. Okay, one is homozygous, the other one is heterozygous. For example, if you cross this plant again, that is this heterozygous plant with any other heterozygous plant, you will get 3 tall plant where you can see one will be in homozygous condition and 2 will be in heterozygous condition. But when we say about the phenotypical characters, all the 3 have tall nature. So we make the ratio as 3:1, 3 tall and 1 short in phenotypic ratio. But when we consider the genotypic ratio, we will get 1 homozygous tall Okay, two heterozygous tall and one recessive condition, that is short or dwarf plant. Okay, that is the difference between phenotypic ratio and genotypic ratio. So what is test cross? Test cross is when you cross the F1 progeny to its recessive parent. Okay, recessive means both the alleles are in recessive condition. Okay, homozygous recessive plant. This cross is known as test cross. This is used to determine whether the dominant character is homozygous or heterozygous. When you cross this, you will definitely identify the dominant expressing character is from heterozygous condition or homozygous condition. Okay. Then about the same thing, he suggested that the factor serves as a basic unit of heredity and are passed unchanged from generation to generation, determining various traits expressed by each individual. So we have discussed already it in the first slide itself. Okay. So Mental called these particle that is transmitting from one generation to next generation as unit factors. Okay, unit factors. But the William Johanson gave a name for this unit factor as the genes, so-called genes. We call this genes now. Okay, so these factors are now called as genes, and this word is given by a Danish plant breeder, and name is William Johnson. Okay, in 1909. Their dominant and recessive form are called alleles. So we already discussed that it is a form of gene, and the Greek word means this allele. The allele is a Greek word and its meaning is of one another. That means it is a form of another. Alleles are the alternate forms of a gene. Okay. But actually the mental state these factors as unit factors, and he stated that physical traits are inherited as particles, but he doesn't know that particles were actually the chromosome and the DNA. So whenever the mental done his experiment, he was unaware that these unit factors were chromosome and DNA, or it is a gene. Okay. Next, about the generation gap. So what is generation gap? For example, this is a parent. This is a parent and this is another parent. And this we called this parent generation as P1. And when we cross, we will get offspring. So from here, both are same, isn't it? So we will have only one gamete from this, that is capital T only. And here from that we will take only one gamete, that is small t. And when we cross these two, we will get a capital T and a small t. Likewise, if you cross this T with this, you will also get the same thing. And this one is the offspring, and we called it as first filial generation. Okay. So the first generation offspring, or also known as first filial generation, is the first offspring from the P1 parent. Okay. So it is from the P1 parent F1 is generated. Then we cross F1 plant, that is this heterozygous plant with another heterozygous plant, we will get different types of offspring, because here both the gamete are formed because these two are different. So here two gametes are produced. Here also two gametes are produced. Okay. Here also two gametes are produced. And when we cross each of it, you can cross this with this T and this with this also. Clearly draw this picture. It is not actually good. Okay. So once again I will draw. So this T can cross with this T. So something is happened with my dashboard. It is not working at all. Okay, this one, and again this T can also cross with this one. Okay, and this T can cross with this, and again this can cross with this. So here you will get a capital T and a small t. Here you will get both the small t, as well as here you will get capital T, small t. I'm sorry, capital T and capital T, small t. Okay, so here you get 4 offspring and 3 were tall, 1 is short. If you consider the genotype, 1 homozygous tall, 2 heterozygous tall and 1 homozygous recessive, that is dwarf. And this generation is called as F2 generation. Okay, this is second filial generation. Second generation of offspring. Okay, and this is known as F2. Next, we can discuss about monohybrid cross. So we have discussed it in the previous slide. So what is monohybrid cross? Monohybrid cross shows that how one trait is transmitted to the next generation, that is from parent to the offspring to the F1 generation. So the mental simplest crosses involved only one pair of contrasting trait. Such, if we use only one pair of contrasting character, that is here we consider only only a height. The character is only height. We consider the single character. And the variance of this height is tall and dwarf. Okay. So here we considered only one character, that is height, and the variance is tall and dwarf. So such experiment having only one trait is known as monohybrid cross. Okay. So in this you can see that here we are crossing only one type of character, that is about height. Here two variants are used. You will get a F1 generation called capital D, small d. Again you cross this F1 generation offspring, you will get 4 offspring. So we have described it in the previous slide. Next is Punnett square. This Punnett square, if we use this Punnett square, we can easily find out the offspring. Here, this Punnett square is named after the person called Reginald C. Punnett, who first devised this approach. Okay, here the genotypes and the phenotypes combining the male and female gamete during fertilization can be easily visualized using this diagrammatic method. Here, male gametes are horizontally placed and female gametes are vertically placed. So, during the cross, we will get capital T, small t and a capital T, small t. When you cross this, you will here you can have capital T, capital T. Here you will get a T from here and a T from here. Again you will get a T from here and a capital T from here. And here you will get small t, small t. So it is easy to represent the gamete formed, offspring formed by the combination of these male and female gamete. So it is easy to find out the gamete formed. Offspring formed. So this is known as Punnett square. Okay. Let's discuss about the Mendel's first three postulates. Okay. So the first three postulates of Mendel's are unit factors are seen in pairs. So we have seen the chromosome where the homologous chromosome have alleles or genes, and these genes are present in pairs. Either it can be identical like this or it can be non-identical like this. Okay. So this is the first postulate formed by the Mendel, that is unit factors are in pairs. Genetic characters are controlled by the unit factors existing in pairs in individual organism. Next, about the dominance or recessiveness. So what is dominance or recessiveness? When two unlike unit factors responsible for a single character are present in a single individual, one unit factor is dominant to the other, which is said to be recessive. That is, for example, we have seen an experiment where tall plant, homozygous tall, and recessive dwarf plant were crossed. You get a heterozygous plant. Here, this offspring have a capital T and a small t, and the one who is expressed is known as dominant. Okay, and the other one is said to be the recessive. Okay, this is known as law of dominance. Okay, so this unit factors are in pairs and this law of dominance, these two laws were true nowadays also. Okay, the next law is about, so this is the law of segregation. So in law of segregation, each organism is formed of bundle of characters. That is, there are different characters you can see in the chromosome. Okay. So in law of segregation, what is said? During gamete formation, genes for a particular character, for example, genes for a particular character separate and enter into different gametes. So it will separate from other alleles or other genes and it will enter into the gamete. Okay. For example, this T is separated from this one and it moves into another gamete and this one into another one. Okay. So this is known as law of segregation or law of purity. Here two genes of a particular characters remain uncontaminated. Okay. Two genes of a particular character remain uncontaminated. During gamete formation, these paired genes segregate and enter into different gametes. So each gamete contains only one of the paired genes which for a particular character, either capital T or small t. Okay, so this both the alleles are not transferred to the gamete, either capital T or small t from parent. One parent is transferred to the gamete. Okay. Next, about this beautiful diagram, here you can see the unit factors are seen in pairs. Okay, so this G represent for the seed color. Okay, seed coat or seed color. G, green round and green wrinkled. So this recessive character denotes green color and capital G denotes yellow color. Here also the capital W represent a round one and the small w represent the wrinkled one. Okay, so I have chosen two characters. So one is the color, seed coat color, that is yellow and green. The other one is the shape of the seed, that is round and yellow. I'm sorry, round and wrinkled. So these are seen in pairs. That is law of unit factors. That is unit factors are seen in pairs. The next one is law of segregation. In law of segregation, you can see that the green, this is yellow. Okay, this is yellow and this is green. Actually, the color and the symbols is very confusing. Okay, so this is yellow one. This G represent the yellow and this small g represent the green one. So this yellow is separated into one gamete and the green is separated into the another. Likewise, the round is separated to the one gamete and the wrinkled is separated to the one gamete. So the one of the offspring will get green, this is not green, this is yellow, yellow round one and the other one is green wrinkled one. Likewise, this is another method. Here one can have yellow with wrinkled seed, green with round seed. Okay, so if this is the combination, it can be green wrinkled, sorry, yellow wrinkled, and this one is green wrinkled, green round. Okay. So what is dihybrid cross? Dihybrid cross is the cross that is involved in choosing more than one character. That is, here we used the color and the shape of the seed. Okay, yellow and round, or the green, that is variant of color, yellow, green, likewise round and wrinkled. Two characters are selected. So this type of cross which have two characters is known as dihybrid cross. Okay, this is actually what we have used this terminology in the previous slide. That is yellow round and green wrinkled, and it is represented as capital G and capital W. Here small g and small w. Okay. So this is actually the Punnett square. Here we are done the F1 into F1, that is we get F2 offspring in the Punnett square. So here you can see the ratio is 9:3:3:1. That means this yellow with round and yellow with wrinkled, green with round and green with wrinkled gametes is crossed with the gametes from mother. You will get 9 yellow round offsprings, yellow ringed 3 offsprings, and green round again 3 offsprings, green wrinkled 1 offspring. Out of this 16, 9 will be yellow round, 3 will be yellow wrinkled, green will be a green round, and 1 will be green wrinkled. So this yellow round is represented as capital G, or it can be capital G or small g. Anyways, in both homozygous as well as in heterozygous condition, it will represent yellow. Likewise, capital W. It is not necessary that both of the genes should be in homozygous condition to get the yellow round offspring. This is the needed condition, that is capital G and capital W. Any one of them should be in capital. You can see here, this is yellow round, Again, this is yellow round where one of it is in heterozygous condition. Again, this is also yellow round. Here you can see one of it is in heterozygous condition. This is also yellow round. Both of the characters are in heterozygous condition. Likewise, if you look into that, you can see 9 yellow round offspring. And the next one is again yellow but wrinkled. If the gamete should be wrinkled, both of them should be in recessive condition. Okay, wrinkled. Next is green round. If it is green, then the letter should be GG, and here it is no problem that one should be in capital, the other should be in capital or recessive conditions, not a problem. But when you look into this, both the characters should be in recessive form, then only you will get green wrinkled. Okay, so it is only one in it, green and wrinkled. So that is 1. This is the phenotypic ratio. So this is once again it is written like this. So this is the genotypic ratio. Genotypic ratio is 1:2:2:4:1:2:1:2:1. This is the genotypic ratio. 1:2:2:4:1:2:1. Okay, so this is the genotypic ratio and this is the phenotypic ratio. Okay. Next, about the independent assortment. So it is little bit different from the other laws because here the mental have no idea about genes, chromosomes, DNA, etc. So he used the term unit factors. Hence he said that during gamete formation, so this is 2 homologous chromosome and this is another chromosome. So these two are non-homologous chromosome. So during gamete formation, the segregating pairs of unit factors assort independently of each other. So they will assort independently. So during this process, it will assort independently. He said like this, it will assort independently. So alleles of different genes segregate, or as we sometimes say, assort independently of each other, and this principle is another rule of genetic transmission. Okay. So here in this beautiful diagram, you can see that 2 non-homologous chromosomes are taken. Isn't it? Here in non-homologous chromosomes, the genes, the alleles are assorted independently of each other. Okay, so you can look here, the green with round, the yellow with round, the green with wrinkled, the yellow with wrinkled and green with round. So that all possible gamete combinations are formed here having equal probability. So the probability, you can check the probability of 4 different gametes. There is chance of having the gamete to pass to next generation. These all gametes have equal probability to get transmitted to the next generation. So the Mendel says that the non-homologous chromosomes assort independently. This is the main failure of the Mendel because he only considered about non-homologous chromosome. He never considered homologous chromosomes. Okay, so let's discuss that point. So now we can say that law of independent assortment is not as universal as law of segregation because it applies to the gene located on the separate chromosome but not always to those located on the same chromosome. This is the main negative point of the Mendel. He only considered about non-homologous chromosome. But now we can say that chromosome segregate independently during the formation of gamete, and so do any two genes on separate homologous chromosome pairs. Okay. So separated homologous chromosome can also get separated. For example, this is a chromosome and this is another chromosome. These two are non-homologous and these two are homologous chromosomes. So during the process of crossing over, what happens is that the non-homologous chromosome get independently separated. That is, for example, please look into this picture so you can clearly understand that difference. So this is a process of crossing over here. So after crossing over, the resultant chromosome will be like this. A portion of the next chromosome is inserted in this. So now you can see that these two are not identical now. Isn't it? But actually Mendel is not included these point in his experiment. Okay. So that now we can say that here homologous chromosome also involves in this process through the process of recombination. Okay, process of recombination. So actually this was one of the amazing thing, that is Mendel done his experiment so wonderfully. It was nice to see now, but actually he faced a lot of problems during his lifetime. When he submitted his thesis, it was totally rejected and it was not recognized as an authentic one until his death. After his death, or after 20th century, it was recognized as the correct one. His findings was correct and the Mendel's work was rediscovered by certain other scientists known as Karl Correns, Hugo de Vries, Erich von Tesmark, etc. in 1900. And after that, the father of genetics was considered as Gregor Johann Mendel. Okay, so this is all about today's lecture video. I hope all of you enjoyed this video. And if you like my video, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you dislike my video, please dislike. You can also dislike that. Okay, and if you are new one, please subscribe to my channel and also click on the bell icon so that you will get notification when I upload new video. Okay, so until then, bye.